Throughout the ages, history has been altered by word of mouth and the misrepresentation of those who might not have been present when some of the world's most significant events took place. Channelers Barry and Connie Strom bring through the spirits of those who actually witnessed or took part in these historical events and lets them tell their stories in their own words. Welcome to Channeling History. And now, here are your hosts, Barry and Connie Strom.
Hey, good evening, everybody. I hope you had a great Easter. Welcome to Channeling History. We're the only show where we speak to the souls that made it happen, or tonight, the souls that are really still making it happen. We're brought to you on the Parax Radio Network. I'm Barry Strom, your host, and I will be doing the channeling tonight.
I'd like to thank you all for tuning into our show this evening. I'm Connie Strom, your co-host. Tonight, we will end our celebration of the Holy Week by focusing on the resurrection of Jesus and what followed. Our first spirit guest will be St. Paul. He was a Pharisee that actually persecuted Christians. Our second guest will be the Blessed Mother Mary. Lastly, we will channel with Jesus himself. He will speak of the miracle of the resurrection and much more. We will not be able to take any questions from the chat room tonight because of the very special mode of the show.
Okay, all of our shows are available on our YouTube channel to my name, Barry Strom. If you'd like to download them, go to Podomatic.com and just search Channeling History. Our shows are also available on iTunes, Audible, Spotify, most of the other media platforms. Now, when we begin tonight, I will speak the words of the Holy Spirits.
So please tell your friends about our show. We think it's one of the most unique shows on the air.
Okay, you'll be hearing information tonight that's contrary to some of the Gospels. So I'd like to include a short disclaimer that the words or opinions are those of the spirit guests, do not reflect the words or opinions of the hosts, Connie and I, or the Parax Network. Now, on our show tonight, we want to focus on the resurrection of Jesus and what followed the resurrection and its effects on humanity. The story of St. Paul is unique in that he was a Jewish Pharisee and actually participated in the persecution of those who followed Jesus. Jesus appeared to him after his resurrection and changed his life. So we're going to start our show tonight with a conversation with the spirit of St. Paul the Apostle. So, Connie?
Good evening, St. Paul. Thank you so much for joining us. Would you like to begin with a message?
Absolutely. I want you to understand that I was so blessed. I was headed down the wrong road. There was no question that I was not pursuing the path that God would have us pursue. I never met Jesus in person, but I heard the people talk about him. And thankfully, I had nothing to do with his trial. I didn't have anything to do with his crucifixion. I heard the others speak of him, but that was simply all that I knew of him. I was incredibly blessed. Can you imagine being one of the few people chosen to see Jesus after his resurrection? It was an unbelievable thing. It changed my life. It so changed my life, I cannot even describe it. It was the most memorable occasion in my life. I know that many require proof to believe. I saw the proof myself. I lived a life that would have given me great problems when I returned home. Jesus saved me. He came to me He chose me, and I did as much as I could to spread his words thereafter. So, when you hear my words, know that you are hearing the words of a spirit that truly and absolutely saw Jesus after he had been crucified. So, Connie, I know you have questions, so let us begin.
I definitely do. Could you tell us about the relationship between the Jewish community and the Romans at the time that Jesus walked the earth?
The Jewish community had been established in Judea for a long time. There were many members of the community. They worshipped a single God, where the Romans worshipped multiple gods or deities. There were many Jews living in Judea. They probably outnumbered the Romans at that time. The Jewish population was very, very difficult for the Romans. They tried to cater to what they wanted. Herod himself was a Jew. His sons were Jewish. Herod wanted his sons to have the title King of the Jews. So when they heard that Jesus was being referred to as the Messiah or the King, they, in many instances, did not want to hear that. Pilate had problems controlling the Jewish population. He was more inclined to give in to the Pharisees and the priests. They got along, but it was inevitable that there would be a time that there would also be a war, which did happen several generations after Jesus died.
Could you tell us about your life before the crucifixion of Jesus?
My family was wealthy in the Jewish community. I was on my way to be a high priest. I was fairly young at the time, so I had been accepted as a Pharisee, but I would have advanced rapidly in the Jewish hierarchy. I followed orders. The Jewish community did not want people to be following the words that Jesus spoke. They were waiting for the return of the Messiah, as they referred to him, and they would not believe that Jesus was indeed the Messiah. So there was much animosity between the Jewish population and those that were following Jesus.
Did you ever meet Jesus in life?
I did not. I only heard of him. I had been spending most of my time in Jerusalem, and it was not until the week before of his crucifixion that he came into the city. So I had never met him, but I had heard many speak of him.
And what was your opinion of Jesus?
I had a neutral opinion of him. I felt that it was impossible for him to be performing some of the acts that the people of which they were speaking. They spoke that he had raised an individual from the grave, and I never believed that was possible. He had healed people. People were being drawn to him, and people were following him. I did not believe that he was the Messiah. I must admit that. So, in general, I think it was just an opinion of neutrality.
Why did you persecute those that followed Jesus?
Because the high priest ordered so.
Oh.
They did not want individuals following someone that was counter to what they were preaching and to what they were teaching.
Did you contribute in any way to the death of Jesus?
No, I had absolutely nothing to do with it. I did not even attend the trial. I had heard the other Pharisees speaking of it, and I had heard the chief priest speaking that it was time that he die, but I had absolutely nothing to do with his death.
Why did the other Pharisees want him dead?
They felt that he was a challenge to them. The more people that believed that he was either the Son of God or the Messiah, those people would represent a threat to the establishment of the Jewish priests. They controlled the religion. They controlled the money. They had great powers. They did not want anyone to challenge their powers, just the same as many people have powers today that they do not want challenged.
Yeah. Tell us what happened when Jesus appeared to you.
I was on the road to Damascus. The priest had said that there were individuals that were following Jesus. It was after his death. I knew that they had crucified and killed him. The priest had told me that I should go to Damascus and clean up the last of the followers, that it was over. That would be the last that they would hear of him. I was traveling on the road, and all of a sudden I heard this voice. My proper name was Saul, not Paul at the time. I heard, Saul, I would like you to look over here and see me. And I looked over, and here was this figure. It was as if it was glowing in a light. As I said, I had never laid my eyes on him before, but there was no doubt when I looked. I could still see the wounds from the crucifixion. He said, Saul, I want you to know that I have come from the grave. I looked at him, and I did fall to my knees in front of him. I realized that I was seeing something very special. I could feel the energy around me. He said, Saul, I want you to believe that I truly am the Messiah. And I would like you to help lead the Jewish people to believing and to understand. I would like you to join my disciples, and I would like you to spread the words that you have heard them speak. I want you to know that I have truly returned from the grave. I truly did not know what to say or to speak. He said, Saul, I'm going to leave you. Go to my disciples and tell them what you have seen.
The Gospels say that you were blinded. What really happened to you after seeing Jesus?
I was not blinded, but I was totally taken aback. It took me several days to understand everything that had truly happened. I did not speak to anyone. I tried to find a place of isolation that I could think, because this was something that I had no idea could ever happen or take place. I was not physically blinded, but my life was changed forever.
Yeah, how did that appearance affect your life? What happened after that?
I sought out I returned to Jerusalem, and I sought out the priests. And I said that something has happened in my life that I feel I can no longer be a Pharisee. I feel that I must do something different. I was not open with them to tell the priests what I saw. I went out and I sought the presence of the disciples of Jesus. They were very, very difficult to locate, but I found Peter. He knew that I had been a Pharisee. He knew that I had persecuted Christians, so I was not welcome at first. In fact, I thought that they would do violence upon me. I told them what I had seen. And by this time, they had heard from Mary Magdalene. Mary had told them what she had seen. They did not know what to say. They were taken aback. But as time went on, they did slowly accept me.
Did you ever tell the other Pharisees what happened to you, and what did they say?
I was not clear with them. I simply told them that I did not feel that I could continue with them. I actually told them that I had personal reasons. Once time went on and the Pharisees realized that I was speaking the words that Jesus had taught, they felt great resentment towards me. I made sure that I did not stick around, shall we say, the town of Jerusalem where they had their power, but I went to other areas of Judea and I spoke the words of our Lord.
Did the Pharisees responsible for the death of Jesus ever realize what they did, and did they have any regrets?
They started to realize as time went on that they had made a grave error. They had killed an individual that had many followers. They realized that they probably should have handled the situation differently. Several of them never had any regrets because for them, Jesus was gone. As the movement of Christianity grew, they realized that perhaps they had made a serious mistake. But in general, they did not feel any great regrets.
Paul, thank you so much for joining us again this evening. Do you have a closing message for us?
Yes, I do. As I said earlier, I was incredibly blessed. The power of Jesus changed my life. He gave me proof. He gave me proof that what I thought was the impossible had happened. He came to me and gave me direction. Just the same as his energies today can come to you and give all of you direction. It is critical that all of you out there understand that evil is growing. I know. I had pursued evil. I had hurt individuals simply because they wanted to follow an individual with a belief different than mine. Today you're seeing religions that would kill each other, would show violence towards each other, would wipe the other religion from the face of the earth. I can tell you that there is but a single message from God, and I can tell you that that message is one of equality, one of coexistence, one of love, and one of everyone getting along. So I thank you. I thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I sincerely hope that you will listen to the words that will be spoken here tonight. God is very real. God's light will shine upon you. You will hear and feel incredible energies tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Next, we have the Blessed Mother Mary, and it is an honor to speak with her tonight also. Welcome, Mary. Do you have a message for us?
Yes, Connie and Barry, I do. As you know, I've been with you multiple times this week. I spoke of the death of my son. I spoke of the emptiness of the grave. And I spoke of him appearing to me after he returned from the grave. Tonight is the end of Holy Week. I hope that all of you have listened to our various messages. I hope that you've taken them to heart. And I hope that you truly understand that my son walked the earth, that he did many things. He created miracles. Most importantly, by now, I would hope that all of you understand that his words have helped billions of people for thousands of years. A simple fisherman spoke words that have changed the lives of billions. Tonight, I want to know that you would like us to focus on the resurrection. Many people do not truly understand the miracle of the resurrection. My son performed miracles. He brought people back from the grave. He gave them renewed life. But what he did was different. He changed his form totally. He became a Holy Spirit. He became a body. He became a miracle. No one had ever done what he did. No one ever became such a spirit presence, a light, an image. He could interchange from a spiritual form to a physical form and back. He did things that no one will ever be able to do again. The miracle of the resurrection is exactly what it is. So it's spoken of as a miracle. I hope that people truly understand everything that my son went through. He was crucified so that he could resurrect and show the world the incredible powers of God. So I thank you. I have helped prepare the questions, Connie, so let us begin.
I thought you might have had something to do with it, Mary. You always do a great job. What did Jesus tell you about what was going to happen?
He told me that there would be a time that the Romans would take him. He told him that he would be punished for speaking the words that he spoke. He told me that the Romans would resent the fact that he spoke of a single God where they worshiped many gods. He said that he would be leaving, but that he would return. There was no way that any of us ever understood the terms of which he was speaking. When he was crucified, we realized what he was talking about, the leaving. When he resurrected, we understood what he was speaking of his returning. He told us that we would all join him in heaven. but we had no idea of the events that would take place after his passing.
Did you realize that he was going to suffer such a violent death?
No, but in those days, death was a very violent thing. It was rare that the Romans would just simply allow someone that disagreed with them to pass peacefully. The Romans crucified thousands. After my son walked the earth and brought followers to him, they crucified his followers. I knew that his death would be a terrible thing, but I did not comprehend just how terrible.
Mary, did he give you any instructions for after his passing?
He said that I should assist the disciples in the beginning, make sure they understood that he would be returning, make sure that they should have faith, make sure that I would speak many of the words that he spoke. He said, there will be a time that I want you to return and care for my family. I want you to live basically a private life. I do not want you to speak words that will bring the Romans' wrath upon you or my father. I want you to protect my family. I want them to be able to prosper and to live. He basically asked me to lead a very, very private life after his passing.
Did you have any idea he was going to appear to you after the resurrection?
He said that he would return, but we had no idea. We thought that perhaps, as he had raised Lazarus, that he would return in body and that he would be back with us. This is what Peter believed. But we had no idea that he had the ability to pass from physical to spiritual form.
When Jesus appeared to you, what did he say?
When Jesus appeared to me, he said, "Mother, I have returned as I said I would. I want you to know that I am with you every moment of every day and that it will always be so. I have resurrected, I've returned from the grave. This is what I spoke of, and this is what I have done. I want you to follow the instructions that I gave you before my passing. This will be the last time that you see me until you join me in heaven. Know that you will join me in heaven and that we will be together for eternity."
Will you describe his appearance?
When I saw him, there were remnants of the wounds of his body. It was as if he had this magical glow around him. He was wearing this white frock. He looked normal. He looked like my son. He looked like the person that I had loved so much in life.
Why is there no record in the Gospels of his appearance to you?
He wanted to assure that I would be able to live in peace with his family. He wanted to assure that the Romans would not kill me. I did tell Peter and a few of the others, but keep in mind that there was no one there taking notes. I did tell them that I was going to move away from Jerusalem, that we were going to try to live as normal a life as possible from that time. I think that Many of the miracles that Jesus, my son, did were not entered into the Gospels. There were many omissions. And I did tell those with which I spoke that I wanted it to be as much of a secret as possible.
After the death of your son, did you ever help spread his teachings?
At first, I spent some time with the disciples, but then Joseph and I moved further away. And once we moved, we did not openly try to spread his words, but we did speak of them in private to many people.
Okay, did you have much of any kind of association with the disciples or the apostles after the resurrection?
We would occasionally have a few visit us, but we tried to keep our location a secret.
Why is there no reference to the life of you and Joseph after the resurrection of your son?
Because my son made us promise that we would do all that we could to remain safe from the Romans.
As you look at all the evil on the earth today, what do you think?
When we walked the earth, there was much evil. The Romans, if you did anything contrary to what they believed, they could show the greatest evil and violence towards you. For the thousands of years it existed since my son and I walked the earth, evil has not changed much. We have seen times that millions of people have been killed because of evil. You've been through world wars. Today, the real danger is the humans have got incredibly violent weapons. They have the ability literally to wipe life out from the face of this earth. Evil is growing. It is a time where good people have got to step forward. It is a time where people must speak of the words that my son spoke. It is a time that they have to learn to get together and live and coexist. It's a time for action. If evil continues to get these incredibly dangerous weapons, human evolution will certainly be at risk. Evil has always been here, but it is definitely a tipping point. People have got to follow the words of my son. That is the only way to assure a satisfactory evolution.
Absolutely. Mary, would you please bless us with a final message?
Yes. I want you to know that God is always with you. He is always available through prayer. Ask for his help. Ask for his guidance. Ask for him to lead you. Ask for him to assure that when you return to his heaven, that you will have fulfilled all of the things and all of the promises that you made before returning for that human life. I hear every prayer that is directed to me. Many of them are against life plans, and I cannot answer them. But many of them we truly can answer. We can provide guidance. You see, many people do not understand when prayers are being truly answered. Many times the answer to prayers take place in blessings. My son, his messengers, his angels, They bless an individual that has asked for guidance by providing the answer to that question. All prayers cannot be answered, but if you do not ask, you cannot be guided. You see, if you don't ask, you will be allowed to make your own decisions without guidance, without help, without instruction. Humans are incapable in many ways of making the proper decisions without heavenly guidance. Know that the energy of God is in everyone. Know that that spark of energy is the light. It is the guidance that can lead all people from the darkness. So I thank you for listening, and I know now that my son is here to speak with you.
Thank you, Mary. And thank you, Lord, for appearing on our show this evening. Would you please begin with a message?
I want all of you to know tonight that I am with each and every one of you. I want you to know that I love everyone. I especially want you to know that I can guide all of you who seek my guidance. Prayer is the key. Prayer is the answer. Prayer is what opens the door to our guidance and our helping you fulfill your life plan as you prepared them before you returned. Tonight, we are celebrating my resurrection. You see, it is impossible for anyone else to do what I did or to ever be able to do what I did. I changed form. I defied the laws of your physics. You see, your scientists today use their so-called laws to prove that I don't exist. But I do. I come to you whenever you ask. Those that never ask never receive guidance. Those that never ask will never ever know what is available to them. My resurrection is the greatest miracle that ever took place on your planet. When I returned from the grave, I did what no one has ever done before or after. I did it so that you would understand the true powers of God. I did it so that you would remember. You see, it took something very special for people to remember what took place for thousands and thousands of years. It took something very special to inspire people to follow the words that I spoke, to create religions, to create systems of cooperation, to create governments, to create ways to get along. My resurrection was the spark that generated Christianity. Had I not resurrected, my death would have probably been forgotten. But because of the miracle of my return from the grave, it will never be forgotten. So you see, there was a reason for everything. There is a reason for all things. It just may be that if you do not ask, you will not have the ability to understand. Connie, I know that we have things to speak of.
We do. Thank you, Lord. Was every detail of your death and resurrection planned before your incarnate life?
Yes. Before I returned, I chose many souls in heaven that had served me previously. They were all souls that I knew I could trust. You see, my life plan was incredibly complicated. I had to assure that I would have wonderful parents. I had to assure that I would have friends, such as John the Baptist, that would help me begin my ministries. I had to know that I would have followers, people that would devote themselves, in spite of any threats of death, to following my words and to spread them among others. I knew that I had to have individuals that would continue to spread my words after my passing. I knew that there was much to be done and there could be no mistakes. I knew that I had to have a violent passing so that people would remember. Without my crucifixion, there could have been no resurrection. I knew that people would have to follow through. I knew that people would have to assure that my death, as I planned it, would take place. I had to assure that there was nothing at chance. This was the one chance that we would all have to begin a way of believing in God that would have no end. So I could take no chance.
Okay, we all know that in the resurrection you rose from the grave. Would it be possible to tell us how this miracle took place?
It simply took place by the power of God. There is no way that you can ever understand the true complexities of my resurrection. I had to defy the laws of nature because this is something that was never done before. I had to change form. I had to change form as light would change form. Your scientists know this is impossible, but I did it. I had to do things and create energies that were never seen before. Oh, we had great energy at creation. And I had to simulate part of how we created.
Lord, is the Shroud of Turin your burial shroud? And if it is, how is it possible that you transferred your image to the shroud?
I wanted to assure that there was a remnant to the great miracle that I had performed. The shroud is real. I had to transfer my image through powers which are totally incomprehensible. I needed for people to know of my image. I needed for people to truly believe in the miracle that had taken place.
Okay, when you first appeared to Mary Magdalene, did you tell her not to touch you? And if you did, why?
When I appeared to Mary, I was still in a transitional state. I was not in solid form. I appeared to be a solid form to her. But I was an image of light. I did not want her to realize that I was still transitioning. My resurrection took time. It was a bit of a process. But at the point that I spoke to Mary, the process had not as yet been completed.
Okay, so when you appeared to Thomas, you did allow him to touch you. And I guess what changed is you were done with your process?
By the time that I appeared to Thomas and the rest of the disciples, I was no longer in light form. I was a solid energy. So it was possible for them to touch me and to feel the reality of my body. It is part of the miracle that I was then able to change from solid to spiritual energy form.
Are there any inaccuracies in the Bible concerning your crucifixion and resurrection?
There are. The major parts of the information are correct. There was no individuals coming from the grave or earthquakes when I passed on the cross. The soldiers did not abuse me. That was made up later. Many of the soldiers realized that I was special. Many realized that they were required to follow their orders. But in general, much of what is written about the crucifixion is correct. The resurrection, very few people saw what really took place. Mary Magdalene told the disciples, they then saw. Paul saw. Keep in mind that there were very few that saw the evidence of the resurrection. But the facts concerning my death and resurrection are basically quite accurate.
Okay. Do you see any problems with how we celebrate Easter today?
I see a trend towards the commercialization of Easter. There are times that I believe that the people are more concerned with eggs than they are with the facts of what really took place. Christmas has become so over-commercialized that it makes me so sad. There are many that celebrate Christmas simply as an excuse to give presents and do not believe in me. Easter has remained a more pure celebration, but I fear that there are trends. I wish that you would remain in your services a time of contemplation, a time of realization, and a time of believing in the true powers of God.
Why has the Jewish religion never accepted you as the Messiah?
When I walked the earth, the priests resented the fact that their powers could be diluted. They laid the foundation of non-belief in me. I think that those that came after simply followed the words of the high priests, and I think that the foundation that was laid by those individuals kept the Jewish religion from truly understanding who I was.
Lord, what would you tell our listeners about Revelations and the end of days?
I would tell them that Revelations does not reflect my words in any way. I will never return for the end of days. It is possible that humans can end life on the planet, but I will never do so. I created humans in love, and it is my desire that they will prosper, that they will learn to follow me, and that they will learn to coexist, to get along, to love, to end violence, to end anger. I will never, at my hand, end the life of humans on this earth.
Okay, Lord, do you have a final message for us? And would you please lead us in a prayer?
Yes, Connie. I want everyone listening today to understand that I truly exist. Each day I still create miracles. Each day I still guide all humans that ask for assistance and help. Each day I have my angels, my holy followers, all the spirits in heaven that have served me. Each day these individuals are available. Each day they provide help. We provide blessings. Many people do not understand that they have returned with a life plan that can be very, very difficult. You see, humans have many lessons to learn. For thousands of years, humans have not been able to learn the lesson of coexistence. They have not been able to learn the lessons of equality. You see, when souls are in my heaven, there is a grand equality. There is no difference. They know that each and every soul shares my love, and that each and every soul is special in my eyes. I want you to follow my simple command of what you refer to as the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Use common sense in your life and ask for guidance. Appreciate the blessings that you have. Understand that I truly exist, and understand that the words that you are hearing are truly mine. So as you request, I will lead you in a short prayer. I ask you, Father, to help guide me. I ask you to shine your light upon me. I know that your love is the light that can lead me from the darkness. I know that evil surrounds me. I know that you can protect me from that evil. I know that if I ignore your presence, that I invite evil into my life. Father, please show me your love. I know that it is there. Show me how I can bring that love forward into every day of my existence, how I can show that love to others, and how I can do what you wish of me, Know that I am but a simple servant. Know that the pathway to your heaven is difficult. Please guide me and be with me in these times. Amen.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Father. Wonderful message, wonderful prayer. I hope people take time to listen to the words that we bring them and to understand that these are all truly your words. Okay, next week, we're going to trace the writings of the Gospels selected for the Bible and how they change through times. We're going to begin by channeling with St. Matthew, whose Gospel is believed to be the earliest written evidence of the life of God, of Jesus. St. John is going to speak of his Gospel, and then we'll speak with St. Augustine, who lived in the 4th century. And we're going to finish up by even speaking with King James. And we're going to discuss his famous version of the Bible, where Jesus learned to speak Old English. So this is going to be a very interesting study of biblical history. Please join us. Please tell your friends about our show. We have a podcast named A Weekly Message from Jesus, and we bring a message of faith and inspiration to help guide us through the current troubled times. We do this every Wednesday morning. It's on our Facebook channels, and I post everything on YouTube. Everything is available. Everything is for free. All we want you to do is to understand and listen to our words. Our words are the words of God. You can submit questions or suggestions for future guests through our email, channelinghistory@parax@gmail.com. My 8th book, Messages of God for a Modern World, is available on Amazon softcover, Kindle. There's an English and Spanish edition. All copies signed are available on my website, barrystrom.com.
Okay, we're hoping that you all enjoyed our show this evening. So please tell your friends about tonight's incredible channelings. That's not something you can find just anywhere.
No, I hope you realize how special this thing was tonight. For these Holy Spirits to come forward and bring messages are just, for me, it's overwhelming because I understand the truth of it. So anyway, thank you for listening. Please join us Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the Parax Radio Network.
Thanks for listening to Channeling History. Tune in again next week for another electrifying episode, as we never know who will make an appearance or who will come through the portal. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2020. Our Story Begins by Kevin MacLeod, licensed through Incompetech.com.